All right, we're going to start tonight a little bit with mechanics, but before that we're going to review a little bit. We're going to see how much you remember. I was actually going to make up a review test and I just ran out of time. And I had that one laying around, so I figured we'd goof around. We might goof around with that one if we get some time at the end. I was hoping if Greg gets here with rule books, I'll give you rule books and I'll let you find the rule references to those over the next week. Just kind of see if you can find why those are or they're not. Under the pro rule book, I'll give you a hint a little bit later. There's two or three that are different, but most of the rest of them are the same. And there's a couple in particular that are different, but we can talk about those as we go through. But I just want to kind of review real quick where we are and see if the guys that haven't been here, if they learn anything. See if Yoder knows anything. So Yoder, stop taking your quiz.
Thanks for showing up.
And you're going to see if you know as much as Jess does,
I don't.
because she knows all the answers.
Who's Jess?
No, don't mess with Jess.
Okay.
She made the bread and the key lime pie. I imagine the key lime pie is really good, isn't it?
Out of here.
I better get a
Sweet.
piece or I'm going to be upset when it's all done. 7 laws of umpiring. So let's just remind ourselves. 7 laws of umpiring, and you can't cheat because the 7 laws of umpiring are in this book, right? Jess cheated last time with her phone, so I'm going to see if she can get through them this time without cheating on the phone. Anybody know one of them?
Play recognition.
Okay.
Angle over distance. Angle
Let's
and distance.
let's take them in order.
Time.
Let's take them in order. You ready? First one.
Play
Anticipate all play possibilities, but not their outcome. What does that mean? What does that mean? Anticipate all. We talked about those play possibilities, but not their outcome. Remember that was part of the reason that we did pause, read, and react. We talked about pause, read, and react. We talked about the importance of anticipating the plays, because proper play recognition will do what? Result in reading and interpreting our keys correctly. So we talked about we're going to learn, and we haven't learned the keys yet, but one of the things we have to remember is anticipate all play possibilities, but not their outcome. What's a play?
Where a ball and runner
Ball and a runner, right? We need a ball and a runner to come together to get a play. We need a ball and a runner to come together to get a play. Second one, proper positioning is defined by the proper angle and distance, right? Proper positioning is defined by the proper angle and distance. So every play, there's a perfect position for every play, right?
Correct.
But there's not a perfect place for every play. Right? Every play has a perfect place, but there's not a perfect place for every play. And the proper place or the perfect place is defined by angle and distance. Right? Angle and distance. And the distance, the angle is we want to try to see between what we're looking at. And the distance depends on the kind of play it is. Remember, we want to be closer to plays where there are tags. How many putouts, by the way, did we find out there were last week?
4.
4 putouts. Anybody remember what they were?
Strike out, throw out, tag out.
Force out, strike out,
Tag out.
tag out,
Throw out.
throw out. Right? Those are the 4 kinds of outs. It's in the high school rule book. Those are the 4 kinds of outs. And depending on what kind of out we see, we want to be in a different position. We haven't talked a lot about that, but that's something to keep in mind as we go through, and that's where we're going to start learning a little bit about that stuff. Okay? Angle comes before distance, right? We got to hustle to our angle and then get a distance. And we have to be set, stopped when the play occurs. Okay, what does hustle mean?
Getting somewhere with a purpose.
Going someplace with a purpose, right? It's all defined. If you look up, the word hustle is defined in our book. Right? If we look up, the word hustle is defined in our book. That's why we're going to go through the book. We're going to look at some stuff in the book. Angle and distance are constantly changing. So we're going to talk about some other things. Again, proper positioning is a function of time. That's the next law. Right? Proper positioning is a function of time. More time you have, closer, the better the position you can get into. 3 possible positions for every play, right? They are
Starting
starting position,
play
play position, adjusted position, right? Starting position, play position, adjusted position. And we haven't learned to start, we haven't learned any of those yet. We're going to. That's where we're going to kind of start tonight with mechanics. We're going to start with talking about what our responsibilities are, and then we're going to start working through runners, no runners on base, where to start, where we want to be, all those sorts of things. The call is a mental process, right? And the signal is a physical process. The call is a mental process, and the signal and the signal is a physical process. And you want to make sure that you're not putting these two pieces together. And what's a way to prevent putting these two pieces together?
Slow down.
Pause, read, and react.
Secure and voluntary possession.
Proper use of eyes. Proper use of eyes. Right? All of those things you said are true, but all of those things can be fixed with proper use of eyes. When you're in the cage, proper use of eyes. When you're on the plate is tracking the ball all the way to the glove. When you're on a base and you have an out, put out, tag out, throw out, strike out, then we have to confirm firm and secure possession with voluntary release. How do we do that? We look at the ball. We take our eyes from what we were looking at to the ball and make sure we see the ball come out of the glove, and there's voluntary, and that's all proper use of eyes. Timing is a bad word, but that's what we call it, because it looks like it takes time, and it's not about time, it's about your eyes. If you use your eyes right, the timing will come along behind it. Okay? And no play is considered routine until it's over, right? Those are the 7 laws of umpiring. Right? 7 laws of umpiring, and you can read about those, and I hope you have in your book, because we talked about them once. 7 laws of umpiring. Figure out how to make my PowerPoints not. There we go. Umpire according to priorities. Our priorities are
Ball strike, fair foul, catch, no catch.
in order:
Ball strike.
ball strike, fair foul, catch no catch,
Safe out.
safe out,
Interference and everything.
Play.
obstruction, interference,
Everything.
all the other junk, right? Touches, retouches, and then everything else. And what are we going to do? We're going to umpire in order of our priorities, right? We're always going to umpire in order of our priorities. And that's basically all we've covered so far. 2 slides in 4 weeks. It's a lot of stuff to cover. But we did, along the way, talk about ball strike. We talked about what a ball was, what a strike was. We talked about the strike zone. We talked about the strike zone, which is
Below the shutters, above the hollow of the knee.
it's below the midpoint of the, between the waist and the top of the shoulders. The bottom, which is
Hollow of the knee.
the hollow of the knee, or in high school, just the knee, right? And all 3 books define it slightly differently. And all of them have the as the batter prepares to swing at the pitch, right? Have some sort of language about that, okay? And it's the place over the plate, right? Over the plate, which means in between the white lines, right? Means in between the white lines. Okay? Means in between the white lines. We talked about fair foul. We spent a lot of time talking about fair foul, right? We know fair foul, you can have a bounding ball or a fly ball. Bounding ball, the ball has to, if the ball's bounding, that means it's touching the ground somewhere between first and third and the plate. And if it's bounding, it has to be in fair territory when it bounds past the base, and fair territory is the vertical space that runs up between the 2 foul lines over the bases. So if it passes over the base while it's in that vertical space and it's a bounding ball, it's fair. If it doesn't pass, or if it passes outside, past the base, and it's outside that area, it's foul. We know if it's a fly ball. We know if it's a fly ball, it's where it first hits past those bases, right?
Right.
And it's not foul unless it is touched or settled before it gets to the base. Right? Remember, it has to be touched or settled on the ground before it gets to the base. or touch the ground in foul territory beyond the base without having been in fair territory when it passed over the base. So fly ball, if it first touches the ground or something foreign to the field outside the foul lines, it's foul. If it's before it gets to the base and it first touches foul, it doesn't matter unless it touches something foreign to the field. But if it touches the ground, it can always come back in fair, right? It has to be beyond the base, touching the ground beyond the base to be foul, or touching something other than the field before it goes foul. We talked about catch, no catch. We spent some time, we had that, I gotta find that play, I haven't found it yet, the NCAA play with that guy catching the ball in his hand and crashing into the wall at the same time. But we talked about catch, no catch, and the importance in catch, no catch was firm and secure possession, voluntary release, right?
Or change of direction.
Change of momentum.
And then we talked about safe out. We spent a whole day last time talking about safe out, the number of ways guys can be safe and out, okay? We're not gonna go near obstruction, interference, and touches and retouches right now, and the other things. And then other things about runs, score, and stuff like that, but we will get to that, I promise. Okay? All right. The next thing, and I'm going to kind of follow along with the book, and we'll bounce back and forth. I might do some rules. I got another rules quiz here that I might pop up and read, and we might talk about it from Referee Magazine. We might talk about that a little bit tonight. But let's start out with the basic understanding, and this is something that we need to understand in every game we work, right? The essence of teamwork is as this comes right out of Evan's book. The essence of teamwork is communication and a thorough knowledge of all your responsibilities. Thorough knowledge of all your responsibilities and the ability to communicate with each other. So that means we have to know what all of our responsibilities are all the time. Right? The major difference between good, better, and best umpires is knowledge of responsibilities. There's not a thought or there's not a guess about what your responsibilities are. If you don't know exactly what your responsibilities are when they occur, and who's supposed to be responsible for them, it's going to be very hard to be effective. And if you want to move up the ladder, knowing these responsibilities cold becomes very, very important. So how many responsibilities are there you reckon that we got to know about?
Many.
What's a lot? 5?
There's at least 7 on the list.
No, those are priorities. Those aren't
Oh,
responsibilities.
yeah, okay,
It's 5.
It could be
6.
It could be endless.
No responsibilities. Basic responsibilities can't be endless.
Depending on the situation, right?
No, it can't be. That's changing who's in charge of responsibilities, not the basic responsibilities.
Almost. Take
More
a
than
shot, say
10?
11.
More than 10, you say 11?
I'll say 11.
22? Some basic responsibilities.
yeah.
20.
20.
20. So basic responsibilities means what? We have to know
Who's
who has fair foul, when. We have to know when am I responsible for fair foul, when am I not responsible for fair foul. When am I responsible for catch, no catch, when am I not responsible for catch, no catch. What is my outfield, which players am I responsible for in the outfield. Actually, we could have added which players am I responsible for on the infield to this, so that would have made 21, okay?
Where's balls and strikes?
We could add balls and strikes, that would have made 22. But some of them are obvious, right? Some of them are obvious, balls and strikes, and we could probably keep adding them. This is a list of basic responsibilities right out of the Evans book. In other words, one of the things you want to do, and we'll talk some about this as we go through, one of the things you want to do when you arrive to a game is you want to sit down with your partner and you want to go over this list. Just let's remind ourselves, I'm responsible for this, you're responsible for that, I'm responsible for this. So basically when we go through what's called a pregame, we're talking about who's responsible for what under what circumstances. So the responsibilities we gotta worry about are all these. Catch, no catch, outfield coverage, who touches on what bases, who has which plays on the bases, who has plays at the plate, who's in charge of runner's lane violation, who's in charge of overthrows and then awarding bases when there's overthrows. How about tag-ups or retouches? How about pickoffs? How about steals, rundowns, half swings, batted ball hitting the batter, a guy hitting the ball illegally, foul tip, foul ball, missed tag, pulled foot, infield fly, blah de blah. Who's in charge of taking care of conferences? Who's in charge of taking care of writing down lineup changes? Who's responsible for keeping track of substitutes and all those sorts of things, right? Some of them are easy, but they're all things that we have to remember. So this is a basic list of 20 different responsibilities. Okay? A basic list of 20 different responsibilities. Okay? So let's start out with FairFile. Let's start out with FairFile. Who's responsible for FairFile? Now what we're going to do is we're kind of sneaking in here a little bit to two-man umpiring, because that's where we're all going to start. If it's one man, it's really easy. Who's responsible for all that?
You.
The one guy that's out in the field. You got it all. There's one man. We're done, right? You're responsible for it all.
Wherever you are.
Have fun, shooter. Wherever you are, go get it, okay? But if we have two guys, who's responsible for what? So the first thing we have to do is, and every one of these, basically, you can break into two pieces. We will talk about this, how to have a pregame. But I think if you can always remember your priorities in order, and you talk about a pregame of your priorities in order, ball strike, fair foul, catch, no catch, safe foul, all the other stuff, then you talk about your pregame in that order. And it makes it easier instead of, some of you guys have umpired some, I had a pregame where a guy just starts wandering around the field, wandering around his brain trying to remember what we're supposed to do. Well, if we got a runner on first, or the worst ones are the guys that go, okay, if we have nobody on base, then blah, blah, blah. If we have a runner on first, then blah, blah, blah. If we have a runner on second, then blah, blah. Stop. Just stop it. I don't want to remember what I have to do in every single situation. I need to know, but a pregame is just kind of a reminder in case we have different thoughts about things. So fair foul, we can worry about what happens when there's no runners on base, no runner on base, and when there's runners on base. Okay? Same thing with catch, no catch. So let's back up. I want to go back to that. Say we have two umpires, okay, and we have no runner on base. Well, if we're going to know who's responsible for what, that means we have to know where the umpire stands, right? It means we have to know where the umpires start out. Well, it's easy. The plate umpire starts at the plate. Okay, the plate umpire starts at the plate. So when there's no runner on base, it's also really easy. You're never going to have an umpire over near third base. So it makes it really easy. Who's responsible for all the fair foul down the third baseline?
Plate.
The plate umpire, right? Really easy. Okay, really easy. The first baseline where it's a little bit tricky. Suffice it to say, if we have nobody on base, we're going to start the first base umpire behind first base somewhere. You already all knew that. Okay? So, who's responsible for what fair foul in that case?
First base.
So we use base, right? Bag, right? Bag and beyond is the base umpire. Bag and beyond is the base umpire. B cubed. Bag and beyond is the base umpire. If the ball hits the bag, it belongs to the base umpire. So bag and beyond belongs to the base umpire. Bag and beyond belongs to the base umpire. It's really simple. 3 B's. BBB. Bag and beyond, base umpire. So that means any ball, and now remember the difference between fair foul, bounding fair foul, and fly ball fair foul. Ball in the air fair foul. Okay? Balls become, if they're bounding, when do they become fair foul? There's three conditions under which a bounding ball becomes fair foul. What are they?
When they touch the foul territory.
It gets touched somewhere before the base and then becomes fair foul. So it gets touched by something other than the field before it gets to first base.
Settles.
Unless we talk about a bat, right? If it's a bat, if it bounces inadvertently off a bat, remember we read that rule? If the bat rolls into the ball, then the ball's dead, and we have the batter in trouble. If the ball rolls into the bat, then we play on. So if the bat, so think about it this way, bat hits the ball, ball's dead. Because we have a rule against the bat hitting the ball twice, right? If the batter hits the ball twice, the ball's dead. So if the guy hits the bat, if the batter bunts at the ball, this is where it's going to happen. He bunts at the ball and then throws his bat down to run away, and the bat goes and hits the ball. Then the batter's going to be out because the bat hit the ball. But if he bunts the ball, drops the bat, and the ball bounces and rolls back into the bat, then the ball hit the bat, and we're going to play on. Ball stays alive and in play.
The ball hits the ground, bat bounces right back up.
If the bat is ever in his hands and it hits the bat a second time when the bat is in his hands, ball's dead. Okay. If it ever hits his bat second time while the bat is still in his hands, the ball is dead.
See that a lot on bunted low pitches.
And if he bunts the ball and drops the bat, look, I've never seen in my career, and it'll happen to me tomorrow because I said it, but you don't see bats get thrown into balls. I can't remember the last time I saw a ball hit a bat, period. But understand there's a difference. Okay, so we could have the bat hit the ball, then the ball would be dead, and whose fair foul would it be? Play guy, right? We could have a fielder touch the ball in either fair territory or foul territory. Same with the bat. By the way, if the bat touches the ball in foul territory and it had no chance to become fair, then it's foul. Okay? Then it's foul. Now, if you see the runner running up the line and he kicks the ball because he's mad and it has any chance at all of being fair, then the guy's out. So that's not what we're talking about. So if the ball is touched or settles somewhere between first base and the plate, who's responsible? Play guy. If the ball goes past the base and it never was in fair territory, it was never in fair territory and it goes past the base and goes all the way to the outfield fence.
Plate, it's boundary.
Base guy. If the ball ever.
When did the ball become foul?
When it passed the base.
When it passed the base. Base, right? Bag, beyond, base umpire. When did the ball become foul?
When it passed the base.
It's not foul till it goes past first base. If the ball goes past first base, who's responsible for the fair foul?
Base guy.
Base umpire.
If the,
It's not foul when it hits the ground the first time. It's bounding.
Right.
if the ball ever travels 90 feet or more, it's the base guy.
Yes.
Regardless of.
And, right. Well, you have to be careful. Generally, usually, normally, most of the time.
Right.
If it skims off of the first baseman who's playing 15 feet up and it bounces and goes out to the, yes, okay.
Yeah.
But if the ball bounces foul, and it bounces foul, and it never comes fair, never comes in fair territory, it's not foul till it's touched or past the base. So if it goes past the base, that's when it became foul. And who's responsible for the bag and beyond? Base umpire. Bag and beyond base. Bag and beyond base.
With no runners on base.
With no runners on base. Really simple. Runners on base, guess what? Play guy has all the fair foul responsibility, right? Runners on base, play guy has all the fair foul responsibility. Good?
So a sharp ground ball past the base, ground ball, even though it's foul, but it's bounding,
Uh-huh.
base umpire.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter where it first touched because the ball is not foul until it's either touched or goes past the base in foul territory. It's not foul till it's touched in foul territory or touches something foreign, that means bounces off the fence. And at that point, if you're yelling foul, you probably need to pack up your stuff and go home. Because everybody in the whole ballpark knows that ball's foul when it bounces off the fence. So you probably don't need to announce it. Because remember, we'll talk about this. Signals are merely you're announcing to the rest of the place what you've decided. And if the ball bounces off the fence, they pretty much know what you've decided. There's really no reason for you to tell them, you know, guy swings at a pitch, it fouls it off and it hits the backstop and you're going, foul! You know, my response would be, no bleep, Sherlock. You know, thanks for the indication. I wasn't sure what it meant when the ball got hit off the bat and it bounced off the backstop. I couldn't tell for sure whether that was fair or foul, and I'm glad you cleared that up for me because I was having a hard time figuring that out. But I know for me, and I take this from Tom Stallings, my buddy Tom Stallings, I never get those wrong either. When that guy swings and hits the bat and it bounces off the backstop, I ain't never got one of those wrong, ever. I get those 100% of the time, I get those right. And I usually don't have to announce it to anybody, because they already know. You know, the one that goes, the guy hits and it's a foul ball and it lands in the car in the parking lot and you're yelling foul ball. Once again, thanks for letting us know there. I appreciate it, because we were all kind of wondering what was going on. And in other words, don't do that. Don't do that.
If you ever work with Tony, he'll yell at you from the middle of the field.
Yeah, and I will not bleep. Thanks for telling me. No.
That's a fact.
All right. Let's talk about catch, no catch. Ball strike is easy, right? Who's in charge of ball strike?
Fight guy.
Play guy. Except
When he hit
half swing, but that's way down there. Right? Half swing was further down the list. We'll come back to that in the. But we have to worry about half swings, okay?
until
Yes,
he
sir.
asked you.
Yeah. Question again, Tony. Just curious. Same shot down the first base line. Ground ball, bounding ball, right? It's hit the ground first. Right over the bag.
So was it
It's
bounding?
fair.
Was
It's-
it
yeah.
bounding?
Yeah,
Okay, when did it become fair?
when it touched the ground, right?
No.
No, when it gets past the bag.
When it gets past the bag.
In fair territory.
So we have the 3 B's. Bag and beyond base umpire. Right? 3 B's. Bag and beyond base umpire. Okay? How about catch, no catch? We can have catch, no catch with runner on base. Okay, and we can have a catch, no catch in the outfield. And we can have a catch, no catch on the infield. Okay, or think about this, we have a catch, no catch by outfielders and catch, no catch by infielders. So, I don't have it up here because I didn't really want to scan this entire book and put stuff up there, but since you all have a book right now, one of the things we can do is to make life just kind of start getting into this a little bit. If you look at page 60, 60.
Tony, do you have an extra book just so I can look at it? Or do I have to buy it? I mean, if I have to buy it, I'll buy one, but.
You're gonna have to buy one.
Okay.
You can look at mine if you'd like.
If you want one, you can look at Jerry's. Doesn't Jerry have
Well,
one?
yeah, you know,
That's why I scooted like this, so that way he could see what we were looking at.
it's fine.
Don't worry.
I think you should buy. I think you're nuts if you don't buy one. 'cause
I
it's
will buy the
fif-
book, but I don't have $50 right now, and you don't. I don't know if you have a pile of them to sell right now.
He's floating loans right now.
Do you have a pile of them?
They're in the car.
I'm gonna PayPal my
See?
$50 to Walls.
All right.
Do we pay you or ODOA or?
ODU, make a check out to ODUA,
Okay.
because I'm just gonna deposit in the ODUA bank account. Okay. If we look at, and this just kind of is a diagram of what's gonna happen, but, and it will list, by the way, there's a diagram, but if we come back over here to page, where the heck is it? Page 43. Go to page 43. It talks about fly balls and line drives hit to the outfield. Right? With only 2 umpires, he says it's not practical to have a base umpire go out on every fly ball, so we got to talk about that in a little bit. Okay? So here's the deal. With nobody on base, if the ball's hit to the outfield, okay, the ball's hit to the outfield, we're gonna have a weird. This is the one time, and it's pretty standard as you move up in baseball. This responsibility is a shared kind of responsibility. There's an on-off switch to this responsibility. Okay, so that means we got to differentiate between a couple things, which we'll do here in a second. and I'll come back to this in 1 second. If the base umpire looks at the fly ball, and you can see those arrows on page 60, the white arrows. If the center fielder is coming straight in, that means he's going to catch the ball coming straight in, okay? Not going this straight in, or the arrow shows him going backwards like this, but fielders don't run backwards like this, right? Fielders usually run backwards either by dropping with their left foot and opening and going this way, or dropping with their right foot and going this way. So read that as the chest is pointed at the base umpire, because he's over there. I'm the center fielder. The chest is pointed at the base umpire. So if he turns to go backwards and he puts his belly button at the base umpire, or he's coming straight in, or he's running to his left, that potentially, that catch no catch potentially belongs to the base umpire. Potentially. So in other words, any ball where the center fielder runs to his right or is hit to the left fielder is not the responsibility of the base umpire under any circumstances, with nobody on base. Okay, good. Under any circumstances. So now we have to define, I said under certain circumstances, so we got to come back to that. Okay, we got to come back to that in a second. Okay, so we could have, in the outfield, we could have routine. If the ball's routine, the guy's going to go, the outfielder's going to go like this and catch it. Then all routine catches belong to the plate umpire. All routine catches belong to the plate umpire. In the outfield. Okay? All routine catches belong to the plate umpire. Good? Now here's what's weird. The dude that gets to decide whether it's routine or not is not the plate umpire. It's the base umpire. What up, G? It's chilly out there.
It's a little chilly today.
Rule books? Sweet. I got the key here. Okay, no problem. Hey everybody, how are y'all?
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Greg.
You got the key to work. I left my keys in my car.
I got a knife in the car too. Last time I brought that knife in here.
Oh.
So it
With
stays
the
in the car.
daycare going on?
Yeah. You got anything you want to say to these kids?
Catch no catch.
We're talking about, we're starting on mechanics today.
No runners on